how to become Oracle Certified Cloud Architect, and everything related to exam 1Z0-932. This is the topic I'm going to cover in this episode 2 of 2019. Welcome to this weekly tip on Oracle Cloud with me, Atul Kumar, from Team K2N Academy, where you learn tips, tricks, and what's latest on Oracle Cloud. Now, firstly, there are 5 main topics on Oracle Cloud certification, covering identity and access management, networking, storage, databases, and compute. And later in this video, I'm going to cover in detail about these topics and what each or what's weightage of each topic, including detailed topics that you can expect in exam. But first, let's see what is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or if you're new to Oracle Cloud, what does OCI actually means. I'm assuming you're already familiar with 3 cloud service models, that's infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. That's IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And if you're not familiar with these, I highly recommend you to look at our blog k2nacademy.com/cloud02. So this OCI is generation 2 cloud from infrastructure as a service or IaaS service model, where the 3 main components are storage, compute, and network. And within that 3 main components, you have different services that are part of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, ranging from compute, storage, network, containers, databases, edge services, how data moves from on-premise to the cloud, and various different services. So these are on a high level OCI services. And if you want to go in detail, I've covered some of the basic concepts again on our blog k2nacademy.com/OCI11. Now let's look at who should learn this OCI. Do you fall in that category? And if yes, why you should learn this OCI? So first and the most important thing in my view, a lot of my readers are apps DBAs, and if you're Oracle apps DBA, whether working on eBusiness Suite, PeopleSoft, JD Edward, or Siebel, all these applications run on top of OCI. So you must know or understand OCI very well, because you'll be deploying them into region, availability domain, VCNs, subnet, and so on. Then if you are running databases or if you're a DBA, then you must know OCI, because databases again run on top of OCI, and as a DBA you should know what all options, both in terms of user managed databases and autonomous databases. How do you deploy them? How do you access them? What ports you need to open? What networking you need to do? How you configure the disaster recovery or DR within OCI across region or within regions. If you're deploying a RAC, that stands for Real Application Cluster, how do you set up RAC? Then if you're a Fusion middleware administrator, again working either on SOA, WebLogic, or any other Oracle Fusion middleware products, all those products run on top of OCI. So you need to know all those OCI concepts very well. Then if you're a security administrator, then you will play a role in OCI, because you'll be creating users, groups, defining IAM policies within OCI to control who access OCI resources. Then if you're a networking administrator, that plays a big role, because networking is one of the big topics within OCI. Now, as an administrator, as an architect, you now on Cloud Architect, you must know about network. And again, in this certification exam, networking is roughly around 30%. And later I'm going to show you the roadmap where I'll tell you what all topics within network you need to know. Then if you're an administrator, then you probably will be working with respect to the servers, load balancers, and other configurations related to system administrator. And if you're an architect, it's a must know, because you as an architect or as an administrator will have or will be doing end-to-end deployment covering high availability, disaster recovery, integration with other products. So depending on which category, there's a high probability you will fall in one of these categories, be it application administrators, architect, core DBAs, infrastructure administrator, security admin, identity and access management consultant, fusion middleware consultant. You should all learn because all these applications use Oracle Cloud Infrastructure as an underlying base. So the next question that comes is, why certification? Does it really matter? This is one of the most common questions that I get in my free masterclass, how to be an Oracle certified cloud architect. Now, if you're interested in this free masterclass, you can register by going to k20academy.com/OCI02. So let's see why it's important for you not only just to learn, but also be certified. If you look at the CV on the right hand side, you know that a CV with certification written on that will automatically have a higher or more weightage in terms of one without certification. So when an employer sees a CV or when employer is hiring for a job and if they see that someone is certified, they will automatically assume that you know a slightly more or you have been certified by Oracle. So that definitely helps in identifying or shortlisting your CVs. So as I said, two CVs with same experience but one with certification will definitely have an unfair advantage. Now, with certification, you have better job prospects and higher salary. Now, there is a survey done by Oracle on the certification and then 70% agrees that certification improves your earning. 83% find that they're more productive in job with the certification. 87% believes that it enhances the professional credibility and you stand out in your social profile by putting or displaying the digital badge of certification on LinkedIn. So you automatically set yourself apart from others. So now let's look at the exam details. What comes in exam and how can you prepare for this exam? Now, as I said towards end, I'm also going to give you or point you to the free masterclass where I go in detail about this program covering step-by-step procedure to learn or prepare for this certification. So if you go to this URL education.oracle.com/product/p_exam_1Z0-932 and if this URL changes, I'll also put this on the show notes on our blog. So if you look at this page will cover everything related to the certification. Now, one of the common questions that we get in our certification program is that, hey, it says 2018. Even though it's 2018, it's valid for lifetime and this is where the exam was started. So don't worry about this 2018. Now this exam, the exam number is 1Z0-932. It costs roughly around $245 to appear for this exam. There are total 66 questions and you need to answer them in 105 minutes. And in order to pass this exam, you must have or clear or get at least 68%. Now, as I said, there's only one exam you need to clear. That's this exam. And in order to prepare for this certification, Oracle, there is a training from Oracle. Now, we also have a training for this. So if you decide to go for a training, I highly recommend to have a look at our training as well with this certification. Now, with respect to the exam topics, I'm going to go in detail about these topics in a minute. Then where can you take this exam? You can take this exam by going to the Pearson VUE website. Again, link here. If you can right click and it will take you to this pearsonvue.com/Oracle. You either, if you already have an account, you log into that account or you create an account and you need to register at Pearson VUE site in order to take that exam. Search for 1Z0-932 and then you can register or you can pre-book your exam. In terms of preparation, I suggest you take roughly around 8 to 10 weeks. But I'm going to tell you about the certification preparation or the roadmap a little bit later. And then finally, once you clear the exam, you can put the digital badge which you can display on the social or on your CV once you clear this exam. So now let's look at the detailed exam topic. What these 5 topics or main topics are and what things you must learn and the percentage of each topic that you can expect in the exam. So the first topic is about identity and access management, and that carries roughly around 10%. So you need to know things like user management, users, groups, identity and access management policies, and then some part is for advanced identity and access management. So in our 8 module roadmap, so I've divided these 5 topics in the 8 module program, which I'm going to show in a. So I've divided these 5 main topics in an 8-week program, which I'm going to show you in a minute here, that what topics you should work or read on which week. So in that, we have divided identity and access management in 2 parts. One is basic identity and access management and advanced identity and access management. In advanced, you should learn things like federation or instance principle or security best practices. Then the second topic, this in my view is one of the biggest topic, and a lot of guys trip on this module. Networking is where in our training we get a lot of questions, and also this carries roughly around 30% of weightage in the exam. So it's very important topic. I have divided this networking into 3 different modules so that you go in a flow or you learn in a flow. So I'll tell you what topics you need to learn and in what module or in which week you need to learn if you really want to get results. Then compute, which is nothing but creating virtual machines or bare metal. There are different shapes you can learn in compute. So this compute is roughly around 15%. Again, what things to learn? So in compute, you need to learn both bare metal, virtual machine. You must know how to configure them in disaster recovery for high availability, what are different types of images in compute. And that carries roughly around 15%. Then you have a storage. Storage carries roughly around 20%. So there are different type of storage like block volume or object storage, boot volume, and file storage service. You should also make yourself familiar with data transfer services. And then the final topic is about database. And in terms of databases, there are 2 main type of databases now for an OCI: user managed database and autonomous database. And then you should also know how to configure a rack or data guard and what are the options available across regions. How do you configure them within a region but configured across different availability domain or within availability domain or across region. Now you may not know about this availability domain, what I'm talking, but if you go to k20academy.com/OCI11, some of these concepts are covered already on that blog. So you should be familiar with databases. So in a nutshell, 5 topics: identity and access management, networking, compute, storage, and databases. Now, if you look at the learning path, which I've already covered in a free masterclass, which is k20academy.com/OCI02. And in our training program, we have divided this all entire 5 topics in an 8-week program. And this 8-week program will help you to, and you can follow the same method in order if you're preparing or if you're learning. So in module 1 or week 1, you should learn about cloud concepts. You should learn about basic identity and access management, covering users, authentication, authorizations, groups, basic IAM policies. Then in week 2, learn about networking. So things like what is virtual cloud network, CIDRs, dynamic routing gateway, DRG, internet gateway, network address translation, NAT and service gateways, route tables, peering, which is local and remote peering, security list, and how do you configure DHCP. So networking. Then on week 3, you should focus on compute and load balancer. These 2 topics you should be able to cover in a week. So in compute, what is bare metal? What is virtual machines? How do you provision compute? How do you deploy them in high availability? Then for load balancers, different 2 type of load balancers, which is public and private load balancer. What is backend sets? How do you configure listeners and load balancing policies? Then database again is a huge topic, that's roughly around 25%. You should be familiar with both 2 type of databases, autonomous as well as as well as the user managed databases. How do you configure these databases? How do you patch them? How do you clone them? How do you do the backup and recovery? How do you lift and shift or migrate, and how do you secure them? Expect questions on the certification on these topics. Also, you must know if you're working on OCI. Then fifth week should be about storage and DNS. And within storage, there are different type of storage services like block volume, object storage, and within object storage, you have archive storage or a standard storage. Then you have a file storage service which being added recently. Then you have data transfer service. What are the options you get in order to transfer the data from on-premise to cloud? Expect some questions on the data transfer service. Then DNS, which is domain name service, which is another service. Then how do you create the DNS servers? Again, DNS is topic from the networking. Then in week 6, you should look at the advanced networking. As I said, networking is roughly around 30%. So pay special attention on this. So how do you connect to from on-premise to cloud, like VPN and fast connect? What is VCN peering? And you have two type of VCN peering, local VCN peering and remote VCN peering. How do you do the fast connect setup and so on? Then in week 7, you cover high availability and best practices. So whatever you've learned in the previous week, how do you deploy all these in the best practices around those deployments? How do you configure them in high availability? How do you configure them in disaster recovery? What are the deployment best practices? What are some of the use cases which, if you're deploying at a customer site, how will you deploy those services on OCI? Then you should also expect some questions on a topic called Clouded Customer, which it's a topic on itself for some future videos. Now, within this week 7, we've also added advanced identity and access management like federation, dynamic group, instance principle. Again, expect questions around that. Now, this is, or you can cover this entire certification, or you can learn this entire Oracle Cloud Infrastructure in a comprehensive in 7 weeks. There's a lot to learn, but it's doable. And then you keep 1 week for exam preparation. So keep roughly around 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks. If you're really good, if you really are good learner, you might do it quicker as well. So this is the roadmap which you should work with, or which you should work on. Now let's look at the common mistakes done by most of our students who come to the training, or those I receive an email on a daily basis that they attempted and they failed the exam. And there are different reasons for not clearing your exam on first attempt. And I'm not shy to say that I failed on my very first attempt when early 2018, when this exam just came out. But since then I've cleared the exam and I've learned to a level I can call myself expert, or a lot of other students call me an expert. And here are some of the patterns of the common mistakes that I see again and again in our training program, as well as a lot of emails I receive from our blog subscribers. And if you follow those common mistakes, like hundreds of our other students who have cleared this certification successfully on the very first attempt, you can also clear this certification, and not just clear the certification, but also learn it like an expert. And here are some of the success stories to inspire you who have successfully cleared these certifications. So now let's look at some of the common mistakes. So now first, and the most common mistake that most of the students I see do is that they practice the wrong answers. There are a lot of free questions available on the internet, or paid question papers available on the internet. A lot of those have wrong answers. So make sure that whatever program you download or exam questions you download, you have the correct explanation of those questions. So work those questions to learn the theory, and ensure that those answers have explanation, or those question answers should have the right answers. And if you're not sure whether the answer is right or wrong, then look at or post that question in our community, which is ktoninacademy.com/community. That's a Facebook community where you can take help or ask question or answer from others. Now, the second common mistake I see is that not doing enough hands-on. Now, you learn theory is good and you must know or understand theory, but with that, you must also learn or do a lot of hands-on. And for that reason, you must also practice these exam questions and do it till you are confident that answers that you're giving are correct. This is what we recommend to our student. This is what we have in our training program where the students not only learn theory but also do a lot of practice with explanation of each of these questions. Then another common pattern why a lot of students fail in this exam are because of the tricky questions. So there are some questions that are really tricky. So take an example for this tricky question. Now, one of the questions from the database system in exam is, which of the following is customer's responsibility on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure database deployment? So when you're deploying the database, what is the customer's responsibility on deploying that database on OCI? And options are installing the operating system, grid infrastructure and database software, or choosing when to apply patches on to the database and operating system, creating the first default database on the system, or creating ASM disk group on the data file and temp file. Now, without looking at the answer, try to see what could be the answer. Just guess and leave a comment on this to see what might be the answer. Now, once you've seen, you will have some obvious answers or obvious wrong answers. And if you look at that, A and D are obviously wrong because Oracle is going to do it for you. Now, this is in the context of user managed databases. There are two types of databases. The question, first of all, becomes a little bit tricky because now Oracle is also used autonomous database in the certification exam. So you need to first think and consider that they're talking about user managed database or autonomous database. Now, if the question is in the context of user managed, and this is when the exam started, this question came in the exam at the time of user managed database, and now since then we have added the autonomous database. So if the question is in the context of user managed database, then you have to apply the patches on the database as well as in operating system. So the question, as I said earlier, becomes tricky. Now, are they talking about in the context of user managed database or the autonomous database? Because they have not mentioned as an autonomous database, so the question will be in the context of user managed database, or assume that because that question came before autonomous database added. So in the user managed database, you need to apply patches. So the B will be the obvious answer because, and why then the question is why C is wrong. And C is wrong because you have to create the database, but you need to name it. You don't create a default database. You have to create the database. Hence, the B is right answer. And that's when these explanation to the answers become important. When you discuss in community, when you ask from others, make sure you have these answers to these exams with explanation. So now if you want to see some sample questions, what I've done is I've created free 25 questions from our training program, and that you can download absolutely free so that you can see what kind of questions you can expect. So you can go to katoninacademy.com/OCI01, and that will redirect you to the page from where you can go and download this free sample. So you'll see the page questions like that. So you scroll down and the right hand side with the download button. If you download this, click on download, it will open a pop-up window, provide your name and email address. And if you want to be part of our blog subscribers, and then click on say, yes, send me the guide. This will send you a guide with containing 25 questions as a sample exam questions that you can practice. And if you have any questions related to those, make sure you ask or discuss from other members in our free Facebook community, that is katoninacademy.com/community. So now before I tell you a free masterclass that you can attend from me on this certification, let me do a quick recap on this entire thing what we have learned today. So we started with that there are 5 main topics in the certification program that covers identity and access management as 10%, networking as 30%, storage 20%, compute 15%, and database as 25%. These were the detailed topics within that. Now I'm going to, as part of show notes under 02 download, so you can go to k29academy.com/02 download, and there you can download the show notes where I'll mention or highlight these topics or in an PDF. So after covering these detailed exam topics, then we looked at what is OCI actually means, where we looked or explained the three service models, where OCI is part of infrastructure as a service or IaaS. It's a generation 2 cloud that consists of a lot of services. Then we looked at who should learn and why they should learn. So whosoever as an apps DBA, including eBusiness Suite, PeopleSoft, JD Edward or Siebel, DDBAs, SOA or Fusion Middleware Administrators, security admins, network administrator, system administrator or architects. It touches pretty much everyone except the developers. Then why certification is important, where does this certification helps, and why you must do this certification. Then we looked at the exam details, and then we looked at in detail about exam topics, what things to expect. And I also gave you this 8-week program that you can print out and then work as per this 8-week program so that you can learn quickly. Now I'm going to also go in detail about this program in the free masterclass that you can register. You can also get it as a part of show notes. Then we looked at the common mistakes done by a lot of students while appearing for these certifications. So some of the common patterns that we see is practicing wrong answers or working with wrong question answers available freely without any explanation to those answers. Then another pattern is not doing enough hands-on or getting stuck in these tricky questions. So whatever I've told you today, if you really liked it, and if you think Oracle Cloud Architect certification program which will help in your career, which I'm confident that it will help you for sure. It helped me, it have helped a lot of hundreds of my students. So I would like to invite you for a free approximately 90-minute masterclass on learning how to clear the certification exam 1Z0-932 and become Oracle Certified Cloud Architect in 8 weeks. So you can go and register for k29academy.com/OCI02. It will, when you go to this page, it will redirect you to a page like that, and where we are going to look at cloud for beginners. So if you are a beginner, this first part or section will help you. Then we'll look at what is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure being an OCI architect means, and what are the certification topics are. So we'll go a little bit deeper in these topics here. And then we'll also discuss about the job opportunities available in that. So it's roughly around 90 minutes masterclass to give an idea about it. You can select your spot, you can select the timing. There are a few timings available. Enter your name, email address and phone number and click on book my seat. Well, that's it for today from me, Atul Kumar from Team K29 Academy. If you like today's tip, then don't forget to share it with your colleagues. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you're not part of our newsletter, then don't forget to subscribe by going to k29academy.com/subscribe. I'll see you next week.